This episode of Sewing Out Loud is brought to you by our SewHere.com members. This podcast and our community is mostly funded by the support of listeners like you. If you love the podcast, check out SewHere.com/membership to see how you can keep it in your ears for years to come and get fun stuff to boot.
Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of ZD Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, ZD and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm ZD Donahue.
And we're in a little bit of a funny place.
Yeah.
Like mentally today. So
like, what's new?
Yeah, right. But
Mallory acts like sometimes
you think
we've got it together or something.
You think I'm under like a delusion that sometimes we have it together?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And
that
makes
delusion
it easier.
is the correct word. So
Well,
actually, you're not delusion. Are you delusional if you know you're delusional?
I have a delusion right now. Something's wrong with my eye. I went to sleep and I woke up and it's blurry. So I guess if you guys don't hear from me for a while, I don't know. Something might be wrong. I don't know what's wrong with my eye. Anyway, so
stick your tongue out.
Smile.
It's even. Yeah.
Smile.
Even.
Okay, I'm
no,
good.
I already saw you laugh.
Okay, you saw me laugh. All right. So we're going with this feeling, and we're going to talk about some sort of like mini flubs or just some, I don't know what the word is for my situation, just some kind of weird things that happen when you sew.
Like when you sew and you think you've got it handled, and then it just doesn't work.
And it doesn't work out.
Or
And
it's just weird, or it's like, what do you mean? I made this before. Well, why
I'm
is it
following
working?
the rules, right?
Yeah.
You know,
I've done this before. What happened?
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Or Mallory said it would work. Why doesn't it work?
Why doesn't it work? Yeah. So we're just going to do a couple of, like, I think we've got some specific examples from our recent sewing today, and I'm sure you all will have some examples of silly things you've done. But ZD, do you want to start off with yours?
I have to talk about my swimming suit.
Yeah, I'm catching this right now while ZD made a mistake and she still remembers it.
I was so
desperate.
Okay, so I was desperate for a second swimming suit and the type of suit I wear. Oh, I could talk about this, like, too. They had this about the reason we sew is because we can't find things we need on the market, correct?
I think we talked about that, but don't avoid how you made a mistake. I want to hear all about it.
Okay, so I needed a second swimming suit.
Yes.
To go on vacation. And what I swim in, what I do water sports in, is a long sleeve swimsuit. And then I wear leggings over that swimsuit.
Uh-huh.
Because I sometimes take the leg. Like if I'm in the water and I know my bottom half is like in the water, I will take the leggings off sometimes.
Take those off for a
sometimes,
little bit.
Yeah. It just depends. Okay.
So,
but I pretty much wear a long sleeve swimming suit, which is a one-piece tank swimming suit. With long sleeves with the zipper down the front, right? So I really needed a second one because I only had one, and I'm like, well, we're going to be in and out of the water 500 times. I need, one could be drying while I'm waiting for another one. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had some rash guards, but I really wanted the suit. The suit is more comfortable. Now that I have gotten into this habit, this is the one I like. Versus,
so ZD has other things to swim in. It's not like she only has one swim outfit.
I swim in a long sleeve rash guard sometimes too, and a pair of leggings. But I really like the suit because it stays down and doesn't bubble up and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's my favorite outfit. So I made this, whipped it up, man, and I kind of did some color blocking,
And
to
Mom's
make
like,
it look
I need to finish the swimsuit before we leave
a
tomorrow.
little different,
Yeah.
And I made it. And then I put it on, and it mashed my boobs so badly, I could not breathe. It was like making my chest hurt. 'Cause I could not like expand it was like I had a binder on that was too tight or something. And I'm like, well, it's 2:00 in the morning and we're leaving, at 7 in the morning. I'm not making another swimsuit. And what happened?
Yeah.
This is, my pattern that I drafted myself that fits me. And basically this pattern comes from sort of a leotard pattern that I've made, I'd say at least 25 times.
Right. You've used it a lot for that leotard shape.
Right. For that specific, shape. Uh-huh. Right.
So was the fabric not stretchy enough?
Well, that, was it the fabric? Did I when I color blocked and I so when I color blocked, I sort of, there were a few pieces that I sort of traced and redrafted. Did I like not put seam allowance where I put the blocking? Or, well, that doesn't make sense because that's not where I did the blocking, because the chest, it fit me every place else.
Yeah.
Okay, really, just not the chest was where it was the big problem. And I have to admit that I had been thinking about even adding some chest room to this anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I always felt like maybe it was a little snug sometimes in certain fabrics, not all fabrics.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, well, I had one swimming suit on vacation is the story. So I threw this all like in a box, and everything, and all the pattern pieces I used, I threw in a box so that it was kind of a basket, really.
Yeah.
But so that when I came back, I could figure out what the heck went wrong.
Right.
Because I certainly don't want to make the same mistake again. Or did I really get bigger and I didn't? Now I have developed some back muscles that I didn't have when I first drafted this.
ZD's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it's kind of funny because it's not a place you measure.
Right.
Okay, so it's not my underbust measure, it's not my overbust measure, and my shoulders didn't get wider, but I have these muscles, so I'm not as
in the back.
Yeah, not as gushy there, I guess. So anyway, came back home. It was like the first thing I did. I unpacked, threw in a load of laundry, and ran up to the studio.
Come home from vacation and get back to your.
Because I thought about it the entire time. Because I only had one swimming suit. It all worked out, but I still only had one swimming suit. So anyway, I get out the swimming suit that I wore.
Right.
That's fit for the last 2 years or whatever. And there's 2 inches difference.
You made it small. You made the new one smaller.
2 inches. Well, that's a lot when it's already a little snug.
You're right, when it's got negative ease. Yeah.
Even though it's stretchy, 70 stretch, 70% stretch or whatever. And I'm like, what did I do? Well, not only that, not only was it tight when I zipped it up and I couldn't breathe, it was hell to get into because I couldn't get the shoulders up over. I really needed a zipper that went all the way to the end of my crotch to get into it.
Right.
So it's what did I do? And my color blocking I thought was kind of clever, and I was thinking it was kind of cute.
Well, the color blocking was clever, but
was it?
Something else wasn't,
Did you notice
I guess.
my sleeves are different? I have
I'm
two
just
different
saying,
sleeves. Yeah,
okay.
So I'm I had this cute suit that fits no one in the world, right?
I didn't try it on.
It wouldn't have fit you.
Wouldn't have fit
if
me?
it wouldn't fit my shoulders, it wouldn't fit your shoulders.
Okay.
So anyway.
Fine.
I don't think so. Well, it probably wouldn't have fit your hips either. But anyway, because, see, my hips are kind of narrow. So I got by with that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, what I really got down to is I think I took too big of a seam allowance.
ZD, so
That's
you whispered
all.
that. You whispered.
That is all. I think I just took too big of a seam allowance. And it didn't matter in my waist and my hips so much.
It wasn't as bad, but in the bust
No,
area.
in fact, I kind of like how it fit.
Yeah, it was fine
because
there.
I'll tell you how I fixed it. But I was it's only in my, and like I said, I think my back is more rigid too.
I just think it's important for people to know that ZD can sew something together with an unintended seam allowance, just like you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and so this was all on the serger, so I was just taking too much of a bite out. And I think the other thing is, the reason I think maybe and I'm not sure about this, but this is a possibility. One reason I maybe took too big of a seam allowance is where I lined it in a couple places.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I was worried about catching it all together.
Yeah.
So I've got a new thing that I'm going to do about that.
Okay.
I'm going to temporarily stick them all together, I think.
You like your spray glue now.
I do.
You
I
are
think
liking your spray
now, I won't do that with all of them because depends on how you talk about how they fit together. But anyway, because basically I don't have. There's not many. There's only 2 seams that you can even see in this swimming suit the way I sew it together. So anyway, I did remake it. No, I didn't remake it. I took out the side seams.
Yeah.
Okay, up in the underarm, kind of through the underarm, actually. I think. I don't know. I have to look at it. I think I went past the. Oh no, it was a. How did I do that? No, I did. Okay, but it's a.
This wasn't supposed to be a podcast about fixing it. No,
but it's a
raglan
sleeve. Right? Yeah, it's like I don't remember where the seam was.
So you went
there.
up through the
I
underarm.
even went up through. I think that seam. Yeah, gave myself a little underarm room. And I put a piece in there, and I just color blocked it again. I stuck like one of the other colors in it.
You kind of just made a strip under your arm through the side seam.
Right, but I stopped. I stopped.
Yeah, tapered
it
it
doesn't
off.
go like all the way down the sleeve or all the way down the body of the tank.
Sure.
Because I had a color block at the waistline.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically stopped it at the waistline.
I see.
So basically there it went to like a point.
Yeah.
So, and I actually wore that. Well, in fact, there was a picture of me with the dog the other day
in
the water, and that was that suit.
This is interesting. So
But I added 4 inches.
You added 4 inches to the suit.
I added like 2 inches to each side. And now I don't have to, and I can breathe.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. Like, you can't believe that I could not breathe in spandex.
Well, I think it's interesting here to bring it up for some people who are still sort of exploring the idea of like negative ease and stuff.
Right.
You're like, wait, isn't this made out of stretchy fabric? Da da da. Well, ZD's original pattern was already probably compressing the chest a bit. You don't want it to be like too loose because it's a swimsuit.
I wanted it skin tight, and I had it skin tight.
So it was skin tight, and then it was like
bone tight, apparently.
Too skin tight. Yeah, exactly. So you were already compressing your chest a bit.
Yeah, right, right.
And your chest is made up of tissue. Your breast tissue is more compressible than your stomach, hip, tissue and all of that. So the ratio of how much it could be compressed was different.
Right. Well, most of my fat is like up.
Is up there.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. Like maybe if you had a gushier hip area, it would have gone on because you were squishy there. So everybody's squishy.
Well, it went on my hips.
I know. But
okay.
It can be different on different parts of your body. So I just think it's funny.
It probably was, like I said, I think it was just already maybe tighter on my chest than I wanted it to be.
So,
and I think actually that might have really been my back that it was too tight on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to know that it can happen to ZD too. Yeah. And whenever I ask questions about this, like, when have you made a mistake or da-da-da, she says, I don't know. I can't remember
I don't remember.
Any.
I just get or I fixed them. I think you fixed them.
Well, and you did fix this one.
Yeah.
Now, not quite in time for your vacation, but after the vacation,
well,
you did.
But that's, and that's another point of subjects of sewing is, why do we have to make everything the last minute? If I'd had 4 swimming suits, I probably thought I would have needed to make one that night before I went. What is that?
We have an episode on sewing procrastination. Yeah. I'll have to make sure.
But
I don't know why that is.
It's not even sewing procrastination. It's like
inspiration.
It's sewing before I go on vacation or sewing before I go to my girlfriend's wedding. It's like, and you think you've got it all figured out even. You're like, well, I'm going to wear this dress to this family wedding.
I know, exactly.
And then you're like, ooh, I have that fabric. I saw that picture. Ooh, I can whip that out in the 4 hours I have before we go to that wedding.
I have
something weird about that.
Perfect idea of what to make everyone for Christmas, like right as we're sitting down to the family meal. Like,
I know. Yeah, no,
right.
I'm
like, this would be good. Do I write it down for the next year? No, absolutely not. So I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, we're going to take a quick message break, and we're going to come back and talk about my weirdo sewing thing that happened to me. Hello there, you fabulous sewing machine. Did you know that our podcasts and Facebook group are mostly funded by our fabulous members? We have corporate sponsors, but our individual members are the people who ensure that we can keep producing our quirky, inclusive, sometimes slightly offbeat sewing media.
You can support the sewing media you love starting at $1.50 per month. As you go up the scale, you get perks like a universal wardrobe planner, the So Long and So Happy zine, access to patterns and discounted classes, and even a monthly live broadcast from Mallory and me.
We are so thankful for our past, present, and future members. Any level of membership is helpful toward producing our podcasts, videos, and the time it takes to moderate our growing Facebook community. Go to sewhere.com/membership to check it out. Sewing out loud. So we're back. And my thing is that my husband needed some shorts. Okay. So
I might laugh a lot.
This is funny. This is a good one. I took
You know, sewing for your spouse is probably worse than sewing for anyone, I think, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's not, well, I wouldn't make shorts for anybody else either. I don't know.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't either. Right.
So I took a lot of our personal money and bought fabric, and he needed shorts. And I was like, well, I'll have to make them because we don't have any more money in the clothing budget. So anyway, I'm looking around upstairs here for some fabric and everything, and
and most of the fabric she bought, he probably wouldn't like it as shorts.
No, they were all like for shirts for me. So I was like, gotta use some fabric we already have to make shorts. And I was like, I can make shorts. I should be doing this anyway, and da-da-da-da. And my husband rips the crotch out of his pants and out of his shorts all the time. He just like it's terrible. And I can darn them, but then they're not really like work appropriate, you know. So
it's like he has crotch rot.
Yeah. What do you do?
That's like where he always
do you do,
where
Derek?
when his pants are done, that's where they're done first.
That's right. And so he's always sending me pictures too. He's like, need these fixed again, you know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know.
So he takes crotch pictures and sends.
I mean, they're not as exciting as they sound, but except for the one that I'm going to describe later, and I'm going to put this in the show notes too. This one crotch rip picture. So I'm trying to get this pants pattern together for him, and I'm making a muslin out of like just some non-stretch twill that we have, you know. And I had taken his measurements, and then I found a pants pattern that I traced out a couple of years ago, actually. And I thought, oh, this works. And so then I take his pants that he's like, you know, wearing, and I kind of hold them up to the pattern just a little bit, you know, and then I try to put them on him, and they're not quite right. So I'm shortening here and shortening there and da-da-da-da-da. And then I already know this about my husband, but I think a lot of people who fit bodies like his come up against this. Like, he doesn't wear the pants where they are placed on a fit model.
And they're not, the longitude of the back is not the same as the longitude of the front.
What's longitude?
The latitude and the longitude. You know what I'm saying?
What's longitude?
Like if you were on
longitude?
Like if you were on a
What's
sphere.
longitude?
I call it longitude.
Longitude.
What am I saying?
Longitude?
I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
The crisscrosses on the globe. But like his latitude at the back is higher than his latitude in the front, right?
Well, he
tips it.
Yeah, he wears these pants a little bit under a belly, and then he'll wear a belt, and I'm like, so am I just supposed to be like measuring this or that? And then so I'm putting them on. He's like, well, they're a little baggy in the back, and I'm like, well, put on your normal pants, you know? And I was like, those are baggy in the back too. And so I'm just like trying to.
Yeah, it's like any other customer you're trying to fit.
Exactly.
Why does this look like this? Because it looks like your other pants.
Because it looks like your other pair of pants. Right, exactly. And so I'm trying to figure this out. So I have to alter this entire pants pattern. I'm basically taking his pair of pants and I'm like, okay, he's just going to wear them like, you know, quote unquote wrong. Like whatever makes him happy, I am fine with, you know, that's fine.
Yeah,
so,
but you got to be seen with him also.
Well, and they don't look that bad, but
no, they don't. They look quite good
like,
now. I don't know.
In my brain, if I were to follow some kind of like this is coming up because I'm drafting more drafting guides for us, and I'm like, this is not the way we're taught to measure the body. Like, he's not wearing them on his waist. He's wearing them on his hips.
Right.
He's
well, on the back, are they on his waist though? Because they're higher in the back.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, they're not that much higher in the back. No, because his butt crack's hanging out sometimes when he doesn't wear a belt, you know. So so they're not that much higher. But
Mallory's butt crack.
So it's like I just had to really like make this very specific pattern to how he wanted these to fit. And I eventually like succeeded and finally he was like, oh, no, these are too tight. They're a little too tight. Now, I thought they looked kind of cute. I was like, oh, I don't know. It's kind of cute. They're like tight around your butt. They make them too loose. Now they're too loose, of course. So I've had to take up a little bit, in the back. But I made all these shorts, and, he's like, I think I just need one pair because I have 2 pairs of shorts. And then I'm making this pair of pants for him, and he sends me a picture from, like, downstairs in the kitchen.
And he orders another pair.
And he says, oh, I need another. Yeah, I need, like, 2 or whatever, pair of shorts or something. And they've ripped along the fly from the crotch to the waist. Like, whatever that is, to, like, the left of the zipper.
Do you think he doesn't know how to get dressed? And maybe he, like, puts stress on them as he's putting them on every day?
Like, what? I sent him back, like, a string of expletives. Like, what happened to these shorts, And I'm like, I've never seen a pair of pants rip like that. He's like, well, I was stepping up onto a stool, and I was like, I got to go give him a lesson, like, when you hike up a skirt to get up on something, like a petticoat, I was like, you have to, if you're going to wear your crotch down here. But this is the thing is, like, I'm like, okay, he likes to wear his crotch low. Is falling low, and like this is fine. It's just not like when you look at I tried to trace him out a pair of Thread Theory pants a few years ago, and this other pattern was not Thread Theory, it was like a quick sew pattern, and I thought, where am I measuring here? Like, where does he want the crotch to fall? And then I thought about the whole crotch sausage thing, and I'm like, that would not have worked.
No.
Like, no,
That's why the crotch sausage has a lot of inherent problems.
A lot of issues there, know. So actually comparing this pattern to an existing pair of pants that he liked was the best thing to do.
Way to do it.
I completely redrafted the pattern. It had nothing to do with, like, the body measurements that I would take. It's like where they fit him, where he was wearing them.
Right.
And so anyway, if we do come out with, like, a trouser pattern, I'm going to have to do some thinking about our instructions on measuring and deciding how long you want your pants and everything.
I mean, but that's true with any pattern as to how someone wears it and where they wear it or where they like it.
Right. But I've heard this complaint from a few people who say I'm sewing for, a man, and they like to wear these pants under their belly, Now, I tried to introduce Derek to Monty Dawn. Those of you in the UK, or maybe like kind of who consume a lot of UK shows, he's a gardener. And he wears purple corduroy trousers with suspenders.
I gotta say suspenders.
And yes, exactly. And he's I was like, Derek, I think you should dress like this guy. And he was sort of like, okay. He's on board. And you know what? Monty Dawn the show he does is called, like, Big Dreams, Small Spaces. So he's going into a lot of these sort of urban environments. He'll be like in the heart of London or like in some, village with a very small, garden area. And then they have to do a lot of excavation or a lot of something, and he's just down there digging in the hole and full range of motion. And some of these younger men in the tighter pants are like, with the shorter rise, and they're wearing them lower on the hip, and they're having trouble, like, moving around, and they're always hiking up their pants. And I was like, well, maybe you need to wear them higher on the waist and, suspenders for actually greater range of motion than the current fashions, dictate. So that's how I was going to try and convince Derek to make it easier for me to make him a pair of pants. Because I'm still afraid, even though he's wearing the crotch low, this is going to happen. And so I made him a pair out of the non-stretch twill, and the next plan is to make him a pair out of stretchy fabric.
Yes.
So that
might last a little bit longer.
I'm wondering, because he wants to be able to apparently do the splits in these pants, but he cannot. So that's my challenge. It's like, I know how I like to wear my pants. I know how I like to wear my leggings. Now I'm going to have to try and figure out, like, the idiosyncrasies of how Derek likes to wear his pants.
That's right.
So Anyway, but I think I finally got it figured out. So if you have ever tried to fit someone who is just wearing something in a weird way, I'd love to hear about it.
Well, the other thing that, we have when we sew for people is like the one leg is shorter than the other.
Yeah.
Or the one hip is higher.
Right.
Or, all kinds of, silly stuff like that. A lot of people have a shoulder that's higher.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So yes, he like I said,
we are not all symmetrical.
Well, and so he's wearing these ready-to-wear pants, and I'm just like, so these have to be like not the right actual size for him. Like if I measured him,
well,
what would I have ordered him in
size
ready-to-wear?
is the wrong word.
Yeah.
I think it's shape.
Yeah, it's. Just,
that's why when people say, "Well, I'm none of these sizes," it's because they are sizes; they're not shapes.
Right, exactly,
Right.
exactly. No,
Right.
it's really interesting. And then now I'm like looking at his butt all the time, and I'm like, exactly are all these things fitting him, and would someone else complain? What would he's
Right.
happy and he looks great, and stuff, but I'm just like, yeah, this is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. So anyway, that's my story.
That's your story.
About
And you're sticking to it.
the very fraught pair of pants, because it took me like
And the crotch sausage would not have worked.
no, and it took me like 2 days to figure out this muslin. I'm like, I have to go work on these shorts for you if you want these, and he's like, is every pair gonna take this long?
He should wear skirts.
Yes, I think he should. He should wear a kilt.
He could wear skirts, and we could just make him some floozy doozies, and he'd be fine.
Full range of motion. Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, he's good with like wearing, spandex and stuff because he was a cyclist.
Right.
Like, so he's
Right.
he's all happy
Bike
with that.
shorts and
Bike shorts and a
skirts.
kilt. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And maybe a kilt in particular
I
because
don't think
they do.
a kilt. I think like a wraparound, like
Well,
without the pleats, like just.
But the pleats
well,
give all that volume.
They do
so
give
that
volume.
he can climb up
You
the
can-
stool.
It's
Right?
very airy and
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
Yes, so you're right. Scratch the
I
stretch twill
think
shorts.
he needs to wear
Just
skirts.
go ahead and wear
Yeah.
wear the kilts.
Or like culottes.
There you go.
That's what he wants. He really wants culottes.
You know what I did tell him? I was like, I'm not putting cargo pockets on these because I think a cargo pocket would take as long to make as the entire pair of shorts does. So I was, if you think about it, like you're cutting out another piece, you
Right.
gotta press it and fold it and this
Right,
and that and
then
the
the
other
flap
thing and
and
da da
then
da
the-
da. So anyway, fitting someone. I just was not used to fitting a person in this way, and I feel like I'm helpful to people.
Well,
in the
I
group,
think the thing.
right?
I think the thing too is what you have to realize, especially the people that are going to sew for somebody else.
Yeah.
Is you may be fitting it a more traditional way,
Yeah.
or what
Or
how we measure,
what have
or,
you?
or
Yeah.
how we measure people,
Uh-huh.
and then I had so much trouble with this. I'll tell you what I had trouble with. It was like in show choir
Yeah.
because
No one wanted to put it on their waist,
well,
right?
or they'd never worn a dress in their life.
Right.
A
yeah.
lot of these girls had never, ever worn a dress.
Uh-huh.
Or the last time they wore a dress, they were 2 or
Right.
6 or something. Yeah, and putting it on your waist. And they'd take these skirts and they'd push them down, and I'd say, that's not going to work in this instance.
Mhm.
You do have, well, this is when you're and so I'm sewing for a troupe. They all have to look
Look the same. Yeah.
They can't wear things to how they prefer.
Well, and then you measured their waist too, right?
Well, but they all were supposed to look alike.
Right, right.
So, you can't push this skirt down and it winds up being lower in the front. Now I've got to figure out how to hem it or what. And it needed to be on the waist in many instances anyway for
Right.
just whatever the style was or whatever, whatever was going to happen with the costume. But they had, or they'd say, oh, my mom measured me. And I was like, no.
No.
And I would say, oftentimes I'd say, point to your waist.
Right.
And I'd say, okay, now I want you to bend like a little teacup, right?
Yeah.
The song. And I'd say, this is your waist. And they'd say, oh, I don't wear my pants there. I said, but you just don't
Were
wear
they
your,
putting their...
you don't wear your pants on
Yeah,
your
you just don't wear...
waist.
Well, that's exactly
Yeah.
the thing here
Right.
with Derek. And I look when, I feel like I've done a lot of looking into how things are supposed to fit me. And I'm like, oh, well, I have, a little bit of a belly, so I'm going to increase the rise to go all the way up to my waist.
Right.
And then he's wanting these to go under his belly.
Right.
But still, like, the pattern illustrations are not, like, translating to exactly what they're going to look like on him.
Right.
So it was just an interesting thing. But I was like, man, this is not how, traditionally, this is one of those traditional, kind of cases, I would have been like taught to fit this garment,
Right.
So anyway, it was a very interesting experience. But now I got the pattern down, I believe, hopefully. He can always wear a belt, right?
That's right.
And then I told him, I was like, I'm just not going to put a belt loop like right at the center back in the future in case you want the back taken up. Then I don't have to worry about that. Oh, and he wanted belt loops.
Yeah.
And when I make my jeans, I don't put belt loops on them because I'm lazy and I don't wear a belt. And he was like, oh, no, I have to have belt loops. I was like, oh, my gosh.
Well, and the reason I think more men wear belts than women is because they have no hip.
Right,
they're
or where
straighter.
they're trying to, where they're trying to wear
Or
that.
suspenders.
Or suspenders. Yeah, I think he should wear Monty Don style. I'll put some pictures. I'm going to ask.
I mean, most of the times when a woman is wearing a belt, it's for fashion.
Oh, yeah,
It's
probably
not,
a lot of
it's
times.
not always function. Right?
Yeah, depending on like your body
Right.
and everything. I will ask permission to put up the big crotch rip picture.
We'll just black out his eyes.
It's just his crotch. It's a close up.
Oh, well,
With
nobody will know it's his.
Yeah, nothing.
You just announced it,
Right.
But other than that, nobody.
Nothing
if no one's
indecent.
listening, the people who aren't listening won't know.
The only thing that's indecent about it is you're like, holy crap, I shouldn't even fix these. Like, I have to make a whole other pair. That's the only thing that's indecent about it, is that you're upset that you have to make an entire other pair of shorts. So anyway, I'm wondering if the stretch will help with when he wants to, do high kicks or whatever the heck he's doing.
What about the other day he had those pants you made and he was swimming in the pond in them.
Excuse me?
Yes, just
He was in the pond in those shorts?
Yes. So I think you need to make him
Uh-oh.
some swim pants.
Uh-oh, Edie just told on Derek.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I did not tell him those were okay to swim in the pond in.
Well, all I'm saying is they're going to wear out faster.
Well, that's true too. I think that pair that ripped from crotch to waist must have been old. I mean, they must have. They
must have been
have
something wrong.
They must have seen a lot of wear because that's a crazy place to rip. Okay, so if you've ever tried to fit something that was baffling to you, or then tried to try on a garment that you just made yourself and it was baffling to you as to why it didn't fit you, maybe you measured the longitude wrong. ZD is not admitting that she mispronounced
Longitude.
Long.
How
Why
do
can't
you say it?
It's got a G in it. Longitude.
What am I saying?
Longitude.
Longitude. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know why
well,
I can't say it. I don't know what's wrong with me.
All right, everybody.
I don't care, but I can see out of both of my eyes.
Yeah,
and Mallory can't, so.
Well, I think it's getting better. I think it's the vision clearing up. Anyway, okay, so thank you all for listening. You can get a hold of me at Mallory@SewHere.com, and you can follow us on Instagram @SewHereCom. ZD?
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.